So we decided to pivot, and we're going to try to make a calendar and productivity app, but one that is better than all of the current ones.
We want to make it provide more features than current calendar apps, which are more about defining deadlines than defining tasks or to-do lists. We also want to unify some current existing solutions, because a lot of feedback that we've gotten is people are sick of using Moodle and D2L and Canvas and Google Calendars to plan out everything all at once. We want to allow for development so people can actually customize their calendars too, kind of like Chrome extensions, but for productivity and planning.
The general people we're pitching at is like college students, anyone with really just too many ways of getting information, and something that we could aggregate into one central. So just general students, including classmates, engineers in general, so people with lots to do, and even potentially going into small businesses and doing a
Enterprise option.
Thank you, enterprise. That was the word I'm looking for. Enterprise option.
We did some sort of mix of sales talks and empathy interviews, so this is sort of our thoughts from both of them. But a lot of the people we talked to didn't think that hard about how they organize their work, and often just were like, oh, I just remember stuff, or I don't use a calendar at all, or right on my hand. So there's certainly a smaller subset of the population who would use this app as opposed to just sort of everyone. And people really wanted to make sure that we were prioritizing ease of use and convenience, because people who had tried calendar apps in the past had usually stopped using them because they just weren't convenient enough to use. And as part of that, we need to assure users that we're not just going to be another one of the dozen apps that they use. We need to make sure that we're simplifying and replacing their other tools as opposed to just adding to the noise of every single tool.
Okay, thank you.
We're going through a pitching process as well. Still working on it. So we currently have 4 ideas. We haven't really settled on one, but this presentation will be about what we believe is our strongest idea at the moment. So it's essentially an anti-ticket scalping platform, and so we want to make it much more difficult for people to buy tickets and then sell them at a profit on some other site. So our target customers are event venues and also just event goers, but we're not really going to be selling to event goers directly. It's going to be more like securing venues and getting them to sell their tickets on our platform. And so the idea is to make the ticket scalping like either difficult or impossible, and it needs to be at least as fast as current solutions. So like no extra long lines because people are held up with like QR codes that like don't work fast enough or something like that. So our prospects currently are like CU Sporting Events and the Boulder Theater and the Fox Theater, and basically like any local small venue.
So what worked well is that the idea really seems to resonate with customers so far. They brought up the issue of ticket scalping without us having to say anything about it. But at this point, we don't really know the venue's perspective, so we're meeting with someone from the CU ticket office today to try to see what they're thinking about everything. And then we just also don't know why this hasn't been solved, whether it's that the venues don't care, whether it's too difficult, or whether solutions just wouldn't scale.
So what we learned is that people really do not like ticket scalpers. Like you said, people brought it up on their own without us any prompting, and most people we talk to seem to think this should be a solvable problem, but that again raises questions of why hasn't it been solved yet. So what we could do better. So we didn't have any specifics that we could give out on how we would solve this, and we have ideas about how to do that, but we don't have the venue's perspective yet, so we want to, like I said, we're going to that meeting, and then we'll get their perspective, see if our ideas are actually viable. Thanks.
Good, thank you.
So for our target customers, at first we were listing out people who were in college or people who were not in college, and people from the ages of 21 to 30, but we just thought it more concise to say young adults who casually listen to music. And for our features, basically there's the music discovery aspect. It makes it easier, it makes it simple, it's well curated, and to find suggestions. That's the gamification aspect of the app. It's competitive but also fun. And instead of an algorithm that chooses your music, it's people who you're following that choose music for you. And the network is built in as well.
Yeah, we're coming out with the beta in a week or two, so we thought like general prospects would just be anyone that we could like strike a conversation about music with. Those were like CU students or friends of friends, just anyone who listens to music and likes to talk about it. And our reflection is that having a script was like good for looking back on if you like got stuck, but a conversational approach was way more effective. You're just trying to get like a point across, and just kind of talk about it with them and see what they liked and didn't like. Thank you.
So we have pretty easy. Our target market was just students that were applying for full-time jobs and internships. Basically, our top features are like speed, so the ability to send out applications quickly because our job board like sorted it based on how long it takes to apply, and then tracking. So that part of the functionality isn't built yet, so we just talked about it theoretically and what that would entail. And then prospects are just people that we knew who were graduating or like looking for jobs and internships.
Reflection, people are already using job boards, so this doesn't make us any more unique than them. And people would not pay access just to use a different job board. There is interest in the job tracking program. People do want to know what is going on with their applications, and they want to receive automatic updates. And they would pay for that. They're paying like a max of a couple dollars a month for that. So, yeah. And this is a two-sided network. Once people start using our platform for, you know, applying jobs and stuff, we can start charging employers to get access to that data that we have, and yeah, get more income that way.
Yeah, and final thing, we kind of realized that when making the sales pitch, it was kind of better to lead with the pain point, so that way people could like understand where we were coming from and the problem that we were trying to solve. And we found that to be pretty effective.
How many people did you talk to?
We talked to like 10 people.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're Flatiron. David's on the bus right now, so we'll just jump right in. So for our prospects, we identified 10 locations in Boulder that host events, have a lot of people coming to it, which would benefit most from our map and chat features. Most importantly, we want to sell our user analytics to these specific companies. So we emailed about 1 or 2 people from each of these organizations. We heard back from 4 organizations, that being Coors Event Center, Program Council, Boulder Downtown Partnership, and the Farmers Market. Set up meetings with these 3. The Coors Event Center is happening later today though, so met with 2 as of now. And we have 2 that have agreed to sign up for like a beta program that we work with towards the end of the semester.
So as far as what we've learned, the good stuff is that organizations were really excited about our features. They were super interested in the analytics we could provide for them for their events. It's kind of funny being early on, the idea is morphing mid-interview. So in the middle of the downtown Boulder, we had this idea that, oh yeah, we could provide private rooms for ticketed events because I have ticketed events. For instance, like events that have alcohol or something require tickets. That's just something we've never considered before. And they're super, super helpful, really willing to offer assistance. Again, downtown Boulder especially, they're providing us statistics on visitor information to Pearl Street, and that was like, wow, we didn't even ask for it. They just, they're like, yeah, we'd like to help you out with this and help your product grow as much as possible. But things to consider is that right now we're just looking to secure partnerships. So basically, free beta testing, free analytics for free promotions, and it's hard to tell if there's going to be any money transacted. After that, if an actual sale, like a year down the line is going to happen. And again, it's like we're
really fully looked into exactly what event coordinators need 100%. So the Boulder Downtown Partnership wanted some form to communicate with the people who coordinate the events privately, and then have like a public channel for, you know, public facing people who are actually attending the events. Again, something we hadn't totally considered before we went in. And program council really stressed the need for moderators and to control basically the content that people are saying in chat in case things get out of hand, which I think is very reasonable. Those are big takeaways. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. So my name's Chris. This is Nick and Brennan. And we're happy hour finders. So as you know, we're not selling houses anymore. So we pivoted. So what our features include is based off your geolocation, we will pretty much direct you to happy hours. We came up with this idea last semester, but didn't have a lot of time to work on it. We really wanted to commit it to the happy hour, or to the housing idea, but we committed some time during winter break, and we got some pretty good results. So we've completed that pivot. So we made a landing page to generate traction, and that's when I'll. That's up to these guys.
Okay, yeah. So for our traction in the last 2 weeks, we took that landing page and we kind of threw it around all over the place, and we've gotten 32 user signups, which is way better than the one signup we had last semester, so 3 signups. And then in addition to that, we went down to Pearl Street and we started talking with our actual customers, which are going to be restaurants. And we talked to 5 of them. We talked to the Bitter Bar, the Attic, Tahona, Press Play, and then the Walrus Saloon. And we got fantastic feedback, and actually we got every single business card of the owners who own all the restaurants, because they loved our idea and they want us to come back because they were extremely interested.
Yeah, so the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. We did get feedback from the bartenders, seemed to have a really good clue on kind of what the managers and the owners would want. And so they weren't looking for another Yelp-like user feedback system. We were thinking of having kind of a happy hour rating system where you could rate price, maybe the best drinks there, stuff like that. But they don't want people to just go on and kind of be keyboard warriors on another application. They also might not want to manage their restaurant profile page through our application. But I think the biggest success story we had was at the Walrus when we went and spoke to them, because we started speaking to the bartender. They thought it was a great idea. Went and grabbed the assistant manager, spoke to them. They thought it was a great idea. And we ended up walking away with the head of entertainment's contact information for when we are ready to launch. So yeah, next moves for us is building it. We have a React Native project going right now. We're hoping to get that out on test flight, as well as the Google Play Store within the next 2 weeks or so. And yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to continue with the traction. We're going to keep talking, and we're going to try and up the restaurants that we're talking to, so maybe franchises, places like the Rio Grande, BJ's, Red Robin, and some other things. And then we're going to continue to try and get students and travelers to sign up and test our beta.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so we are fast food. Our target customers were like locally owned shops that are on platforms like Seamless, Hungry Buffs, or Grubhub. A feature for that is that we could give them an online presence and a different way for people to order food from them. And then our other set of customers would be like college students who would be using our app that we create. So yeah, so the prospects, we first started with researching places that were on those platforms just to get an idea of how those platforms were able to contact them and use them. And then the rest of our prospects were places that we couldn't find using any of those platforms, and then college students as well.
So we pretty much found, so especially from talking to the McDevitt supply guy, that he had like 5 different tablets up there, and he still wanted more. Like any way that they can get more customers, they're happy to. Especially these local restaurants where they don't have, you know, the knowledge of, oh, what do you want? I want, you know, Panda Express or something that you know of. They need access as much as possible. So, like I said, despite having like 5 screens there, like one with Grubhubs, one with like Hungry Buffs, and there was so many that I couldn't even like remember all of them, he still wanted more. And so even if we could, you know, just start getting any customers, I think restaurants would be happy to do that. But talking to students, so I mostly actually just talked to my roommates because I have 7 of them. But anyways, it sounded like like they were interested, but the biggest problem is going to be having people aware that it's possible. You know, obviously when you're picking up Starbucks, you know that they have their own, you know, corporate app to go pick up coffee, and coffee is a pretty standard thing you want to pick up and go. But for things like food, like I don't have the foresight typically to like call the restaurant and like say, can I have like a steak or something before I get there? So maybe that's probably gonna be our biggest hurdle, is trying to get people on board with this whole like pick up or like order food before you even get there kind of thing.
So besides the restaurant, also we talked to some student, also some people, and most of them they use Grubhub and Postmate. So they said, why should I use that your app? Because we can order groceries too from King Super and other kind of thing. So they deliver food. So basically we differentiate, because still you have to wait for the food. It's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes minimum. But our service, you don't have to wait for the food. You can just go and grab it. So they liked it. They said, yeah, if we can fix it, like the scheduling problem, or like the food I ate, if I don't like it, like the customer relationship. Other than that, they like it, the idea.
Thank you.
Okay, so our target customers were makeup users, but our segmentations are makeup lovers, which is our way of saying casual makeup users, and then beauty gurus, so people that are on YouTube, Instagram, who make tutorials or post their looks, and then makeup artists, so professional makeup artists.
So for our sales calls, we focused on just a couple of features that we wanted to highlight, rather than just droning on about all the things that our app could do. So the first was just the looking at a makeup look and seeing the products and steps listed all in one place. And then the next one was the feature to catalog and organize your makeup products. And then the benefits were just, we focused on the user frustrations of like trying a makeup look from the internet and not knowing what products were used and what steps were taken and stuff like that. And then cluttered makeup collections was another thing we saw way back in our empathy interviews, so we focused on that.
Yeah, and the people that we talked to were mostly friends or friends of friends or acquaintances, because we know a lot of people who use makeup anyway, so. Oh, and then some reflections where it was really hard, well, for me specifically, to stop saying too much stuff. I was trying to say like everything that we can do. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this and this. So I have to be like, calm down and only tell them the main points, because I wanted them to focus, you know, have depth in 2 main points rather than being shallow in like a bunch of stuff. And then also people seemed quick to say yes after the price, since it is an app, it's only $2.99 for the premium version. So people are more likely to commit to something that's obviously not expensive.
And then for me, it was like I talked to a lot of people that were just casual makeup users, because that's most of my friends, and they were a little less interested. They were like, I might use this on a special occasion, but committing to downloading an app and using it just for that seemed like a lot. So definitely need to find a way to interest those customers more. And then also people are really quick to start giving suggestions afterwards, like, oh, can it do this? Like, it would be really cool if it did this, which is also really interesting. And then lastly, the call to action's really hard. I was like, oh, like, okay, you would download it, cool. But if I had like a card with our website or something on, I feel like that might have been a little stronger to get them on our email list. Thank you.
Excellent.
So we're checkout, but we actually pivoted,
So our new idea is going to be a web application that will be combining public data for resorts and run availabilities with a map that you can just see all the trails at the same time and see their availability when they're groomed, as well as lift openings.
So this would be for skiers, obviously, who like want to see what runs are open on the mountain. They can open this website and have that overlay right on the map, so they don't have to like go to the runs open. And friends, family, our connections, and the features are just
quickly determine what's open, and yeah, you don't have to switch around.